Hi, my name's Caroline. I'm a humanistic integrative counsellor or therapist, and I'm going to do a video today to talk to you about spiralling thoughts. Now, this is quite a big topic, and it's something that a lot of my clients come to me with, or at some point have the symptom of experiencing this. So, what are spiralling thoughts? So we can also describe them as ruminating or ruminations. So probably more commonly described as overthinking, but overthinking to the point of it's causing you distress. And it's sometimes known as intrusive thoughts. So these describe thoughts that really just, it doesn't feel like they're ever going to leave you alone. It feels like once you go down a rabbit hole of sort of thinking about a certain topic that's important to you or that has triggered you in some way, it feels as though they just go round and round and round in circles. They won't leave you alone. It might be affecting your sleep. It might be affecting your ability to concentrate at work. You may find yourself putting in some coping strategies that are either healthy or unhealthy. So common unhealthy strategies might be going on your phone, going down the doom scrolling route, sort of as a way of trying to distract yourself from those thoughts and to sort of numb yourself out so you don't have these sort of racing thoughts. And yeah, and it can feel as though once your brain starts to think about a certain topic, it can almost feel as though you're then trapped, you're then stuck in this. It's almost as though you're in a maze and you have to try to solve the problem, whatever it is, the problem your brain has hooked onto, and that it will usually be something that is linked somewhere along the line with issues that you're having, or something that's happened when you were younger that perhaps you haven't dealt with. So for example, let me think of a good example. You might feel as though you might feel as though there's something not quite right in your relationship. Let's say you're in a romantic relationship and you're feeling as though there's something just a bit off there, it doesn't feel quite right. And let's say, for example, you had previously been in a relationship whereby your partner cheated on you, and so what might then happen is you might then go down the rabbit hole of, well, that person cheated on me, so therefore my current partner is probably cheating on me. And then you might go into that rabbit hole of, so I'm a straight female, so I might think, so, who is she? Where's he meeting her? Or the time he said he was here, then he was probably there, and how can I find out, and what's my best strategy? And so lots and lots of swirling thoughts that make it incredibly difficult for you to actually stay in the present and get on with your life. And they can actually get to the point where you do feel sort of stuck in life, because they can almost sort of take over your life, or it can feel like that. So for example, if you're, and it can be quite difficult to describe this to friends who don't understand, if they haven't had this experience. It can be a very isolating experience to try to share that, because people who haven't experienced ruminations and that level of overthinking, intrusive thoughts, people who haven't experienced it typically might say things like, oh, just let it go, you'll be fine, just distract yourself, go shopping, go, run yourself a bath, just write a list of things you have to do and just, tick them off and you'll be fine. The problem is, even though they may have the best intentions, things like self-care, for example, if you have very intrusive thoughts, a lot of self-care activities such as meditation, having a bath, lying down reading a book, a lot of that may make those ruminating thoughts worse, actually, at times. If you've got a book that's very captivating, then hopefully you'll be okay with that. But things like just having a bath, for example, it's probably not going to feel much like self-care, because when you're there, the thoughts may become magnified, and often people, when they're experiencing this, might not be able to be in a room without putting on background noise, so putting on the TV, putting on music, or both, just they can often want to fill the silence, because it's often in silence that these thoughts can become perhaps even more overwhelming. So what can we do about them? So yeah, this is a very big question, and I'm going to keep this video short, so we're not going to go into huge depth here, but just to sort of start to touch on some practical ideas and some of my thoughts and some thoughts that are out there around what's going on with these thoughts. So I think a really good question to ask yourself is, how are these thoughts helping me? How are they helping me? Because usually our brains are pretty good at trying to keep us safe. So they've kept you safe until now, whatever age you are now that you're watching this. So you've done pretty well, especially in evolutionary terms. We have a pretty good lifespan these days. So your brain is wired for survival. Your brain is not wired for happiness. Not automatically wired for happiness, at least. And so if that's true, if our brains are actually wired to keep us alive, how is this helping us? Because it can feel like we're going a little bit mad. And I say that, in the most supportive way possible. Sort of, can we reclaim the word mad? I don't mean, you need to be sectioned mad, but the thoughts can send you into such a spiral that you may feel incredibly overwhelmed and unable to function, and therefore you may start to believe there is, and I hear this a lot, there's something wrong with me, there must be something wrong with me. And the truth is, actually, how are these thoughts actually helping you, even though they may feel like they're not? So actually what they're doing is it's a very clever but annoying coping strategy that some people have developed, but not intentionally. But what our brain is trying to do is to distract ourselves. It's to giving us a problem to solve, and all the time we're distracted, all the time we're trying to find the answer, you then won't have to drop down into your feelings. So none of us like extremely negative feelings very much, do we? We don't, yes, we love feeling joy and happiness and fun, but the other end of the scale, sadness, abandonment, betrayal, anger, fear, we don't really want to look at those. We don't really want to feel any of those because they do not feel great at all. They feel shitty. So what our brains can then do as a way to help, in inverted commas, help us, is to create these elaborate scenarios that keeps us looped into, what ifs and, how can I figure this out, rather than dropping down into our bodies and actually feeling the underlying feelings that are going on for us. So what is going on for us? And that's a really important place for us to start. Once we start to understand that actually all these thoughts are doing are a symptom of us having not listened to our physical sensations and our feelings and our emotions. So it's trying to take us away. It's trying to zone us out. It's trying to distract us. And how do we resolve this? So we need to start feeling our feelings. And there's no way of sugarcoating this. There is, in my experience, there is no other way over it, under it, round it. You have to go through it, as far as I'm concerned. You have to go through it, and that's not probably the news that you want to hear, because none of us like feeling, none of us like crying or feeling sad or feeling abandoned, feeling rejected, feeling betrayed. But until we allow ourselves to work through those emotions, then those thoughts are just going to keep going. So how do we drop down into those emotions if we're so used to thinking all the time? If our brains have put that in as a coping strategy, so I mean, it's intellectualization is another way of, another name for it. So everything is intellectualized. So you're very, very thinky. You're in your head all the time. Well, we want to move into our body, because our body is where our emotions are felt. And that can be really difficult to do if you're not used to it. So it's a real practice. And we can start off by doing a body scan. I do body scans, well, because of my work, I do body scans pretty much, well, multiple times a day, once every hour or so. In some instances, I am constantly scanning my body as part of my work, in order to ensure that I'm in the present moment with my client. But for you, how can you do this? How often, what's a good amount of time to do it? So, maybe start off with, every time I get up to make myself a cup of tea, and I do a body scan, which is, you start off either at your head or your feet, and you take your conscious awareness into just sort of noticing what's going on inside your skin. And it can be on your skin as well, but you're bringing your awareness internally. So not focusing on, the hoovering that needs doing, or the you know, what TV program is on this evening, or you know, what have I parked in the right place, or what are the kids doing in the next bedroom. So really bringing the awareness in, and you only need to do it for a couple of minutes, but just really noticing. And this isn't about putting a judgment on yourself. So if you are feeling stressed, if your shoulders are up here, if you're starving hungry or really thirsty, or you know, your little toe is hurting, it's not about judging yourself for not having addressed those things. It's just about noticing what's going on for you, because until you notice your body and your internal sensations, if you're not used to feeling your feelings, then it will probably be quite difficult for you to get in touch with them. It might be tricky for you to name your emotions. So even if you notice, my heart is actually a bit achy, like what does that mean? Like what emotion is that linked with? I mean, you can go online. There's loads of really good sort of emotion maps, or you can actually buy on Etsy. They do a really good emotions wheel, so you can sort of track round and have a little look. And there's lots of different emotions sort of labelled. I mean, in counselling, we understand the emotions fall into 4 categories: anger, sadness, fear, and joy. And all of the other emotions will fall under those 4. So rather than getting super specific to begin with, if this is a new practice to you, you can start off by going, what am I feeling? Which one does it fall into? If you're feeling anxious, well, that falls under fear. I mean, anxiety is just another way of saying fear. You know, a lot of people would class it as nervousness, but nervousness falls under fear. You know, my heart's hurting. Why is my heart hurting? Well, you know, have you lost someone close to you? Are you still processing a relationship breakup? Have your children flown the nest? Have you had a big life change recently? Is your best friend not talking to you right now? Do you suspect your partner is having an affair? You know, and the emotions aren't necessarily one or the other. If, for example, if you suspect your partner was having an affair, you probably would have a mix of fear, anger, and sadness. So doing this body scan is a really good way of starting to notice what emotion you're feeling right now. And even if you can't name the emotion, what you can do is you can just notice, okay, I don't know what emotion I'm feeling, but I do know that my heart hurts, or I do know that my fingers are tingling, or I do know that my neck's really, really sore. I do know that I've got like this burning, hot, sort of bubbly feeling in my belly. And the more we do these scans, even if we can't immediately name the emotion, we are showing our mind and we're showing our nervous system that we are trying to get in touch with our emotions. So the other thing you can do, I often talk about journaling. Obviously, if you're not seeing a therapist, I would highly recommend seeing a therapist, especially if the intrusive thoughts are, because some intrusive thoughts can be linked with visualizing very unpleasant scenarios. So some people have very strong sort of catastrophic thoughts that are actually incredibly distressing to them. So if that's going on for you, I would 100% recommend you go on the BACP website and find a therapist that you resonate with. I've got some videos up talking about the process of recovering from heartbreak. Those talk about the different recovery stages, and you can substitute heartbreak through all those stages with the words recovering from your children leaving home, recovering from redundancy, recovering from my business went bust, my partner died, I've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, I've moved home, I've lost a really close friendship, any big lifestyle change or change within your relationships or your family dynamics, friendships. I'm sure there's lots of other things that I can't think of right now. Things like time of life. So, menopause can be a big time of difficulty for some people. Realizing that you're unable to have any more children can be very hard. If you're struggling with infertility, and you're trying to come to terms with maybe never being able to have children, that's a huge thing. And these are all potentially unresolved situations of grief or trauma. If you have experienced trauma, either a one-off event trauma or complex trauma through abusive relationships or neglectful relationships, especially when you were younger, but also as you're an adult, if you have been through any kind of complicated relationship breakup or complicated relationship, any kind of abuse, so financial abuse, emotional abuse, physical, mental, what am I missing, sexual, religious, any kind of abusive relationship or friendship. If you're coming out of that, or even whilst you're in that, the spiraling thoughts may be your whole being's way of distracting you, because you possibly don't want to sit in those emotions. And when you do open the can of some of your emotions, just to say, be really gentle with yourself. Hopefully, talk it through with a trusted friend. If not, talk it through with a therapist. Reach out to people if you're finding that difficult, and definitely use some of the tools I've uploaded. The butterfly hug to help to regulate emotions, butterfly hug, physiological sigh. I've done a grounding technique. I'm going to upload some more sort of quick and simple tools as well that will hopefully help you. But yeah, please do reach out. And if the emotions, when you start to feel them, if they are feeling really unmanageable and overwhelming, take yourself off, distract yourself again, find help. If you can, find other ways, because if you can find other ways, go for a walk, go for a swim, if you can do any of those things. Read a book if it's enough of a good read to distract yourself. You know, watch a movie, bake a cake. Things like doom scrolling on social media is not likely long term. It might feel short term. It might really sort of help you to switch off from your emotions, but long term, there's so many research studies out there showing that you just end up feeling worse unless all of unless your algorithm is set to you know, cute kittens and plants and beautiful sunsets, in which case, yeah, crack on. But most of our algorithms are all over the place, and even if you work really hard to, you know, alter the algorithm so only get good stuff being sent through, it's highly unlikely to just be good stuff that's coming through for you on social media. So yes, so that was a whistle stop tour. I do intend to do some more in-depth videos, but I hope there was something in there for you that you found helpful, useful, or interesting. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to like my video, that would be fabulous, or subscribe, I would appreciate that very much. But in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.